good afternoon.
Hi.
My name is Sarah Gergel, and I work with the Living Archives Project, where we are collecting stories on how minority communities here in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County were impacted by COVID. Today is June 3rd, 2024, and I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I'm Preethi Sriniwasan. I have been a Charlotte native for about 18 years now. I grew up in India, and I work at Bank of America. And my association with the library is I'm a trustee on the library board. Do you want me to stop and...
No, that's great. And can you briefly describe how you look, Preethi?
Sure. I am a female, black hair, short. I'm wearing a multicolored dress today. I'm Indian. I guess that's it.
That's great. And you're wearing some beautiful earrings today.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Well, Preethi, I'm so glad that you were able to connect with us today and share your story. Thank you so much. So you said that you've been in Charlotte for
18 years, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
What brought you to Charlotte?
Work.
Okay.
Yes. I grew up in India, and then I went to school. I did my master's in London, and then I moved here. My husband was here, so I got married, moved here, went to school in Georgia Tech, and then Bank of America hired me, and I'm here. I've been here since.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is a long time. I feel like a native Charlottean.
Yeah, I bet. And then you've been here through a lot of changes.
Oh, I've seen the city grow.
Yeah.
It's
What's kind of stood out to you the most of the
Uptown. Uptown is beyond resemblance to what it was when we first moved here.
Yeah.
And how much the city has grown outward too.
Mm.
Areas like Waxhaw, Weddington, they were remote at that time.
Yeah. That's crazy. And now they're kind of like lots of development.
Oh, absolutely.
Lots. That's crazy. Preethi, you mentioned to me earlier that you have kids. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. I have a rising senior, which is a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And I have my younger one is going to middle school, which is another nervous. It's another form of nerve-wracking situation.
Yeah, that's crazy. And they were, I'm assuming it's been 4 years. So was your son in 8th grade or 9th grade when the pandemic kind of arrived in Charlotte?
He was in middle school still, so...
He was in middle school, 8th grade, around there.
I think so. So 2020... Yeah, so I think he must have been a rising 8th grader, or he must have been in 7th grade through part of the pandemic, and then a rising 8th grader, I think.
Okay, and then your daughter was very young.
Yes, she was... She'd have been like a rising 1st grader, maybe?
Yeah, probably. So, I mean, it's been so many years. Tell me a little bit about what did that look like for you?
The pandemic, it started out uncertain, as I'm sure it did for pretty much everybody, right? I mean, you heard news about like 1 or 2 of these things somewhere, and you're like, it's not anything that we're ever gonna see or hear more about. And then it started becoming very, very personal.
Yeah.
Right before, we had a couple of really good events right before the pandemic. So 2019, and I hope you don't mind my going a little bit back in time. So end of 2019, the entire family, so the 4 of us, my sister-in-law and her family who live in Baltimore, and my parents and my husband's parents who are in India, we all vacationed in New Zealand.
Okay.
It was the first time that we'd done that big a family vacation. And we were there for a good 2 weeks. It was just it was an awesome vacation. And then we came back. I turned 40 that early 2020, and my husband did a surprise birthday party for me, and I had like friends come in from Chicago, San Diego. There's a friend that was in Singapore that happened to be in the US, and so she came, and I hadn't seen some of these people in like years. We're still very good friends, but I hadn't seen them in years. And so it really started off, we were, New Year's was in New Zealand, and then January we had the party, and so really started off well. And then I guess it just went downhill from there. This 2020 we lost my father-in-law. In 2021, my dad.
So sorry, Preethi.
Both pandemic related, but in very, very different ways. It's April or May of 2020. My father-in-law, and we're very close. My mother-in-law stays with us now, and I'm going a little out of order, I guess. So it's just stream of consciousness here. But my father, they were in India, my in-laws, and they live in a town in India, and they had some issue with the water that was coming into the house. Okay. And so they had like an overhead tank. Because of the pandemic, they weren't able to find like a plumber to come to the house.
Okay.
And so my father-in-law said he was going to go up and look to see if there was anything blocking the water tank. And the tank is on top of the house, and it's not like houses here where you have a sloping roof. It's like you can go on the roof of the house. It's like flat. Okay. So you can go on top of the roof and then use like a ladder to climb up to the water tank. We have no idea what happened, but it had been a while. My mother-in-law looked all around the house for him. She couldn't find him anywhere. And then he was... he had drowned in the tank, and so we have no idea what happened. He took that truth of like what happened with him, I guess. It was not something that we were expecting. He was a little sick when we were in New Zealand. He had shortness of breath. There were a couple of times where we were a little worried for him when he was there, but then he was doing much better after he went back home, and this was such a
so sudden.
It was a shock, and the hard part of it was we just couldn't go.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law was by herself. India was they had a lockdown there. One of my, and stop me if I'm rambling on. When we heard the news, we spent the first day, it was very early in the morning, our time when we heard the news, and there was no time to feel, because we just spent the time trying to figure out if there was any chance we could make it. And then so I'm a practicing Hindu, and our traditions are whatever it is, birth, death, marriage, whatever it is, we have very elaborate traditions. And so the rest of the time was trying to figure out if we can get how we're going to be able to get a priest to do all the rituals that my husband's the older son, and so that he would need to do. It really, there was no time to feel as how I would think about it, but we were able to see sort of the funeral, or at least parts of it, thanks to technology. So I guess one of the things I should be grateful for is technology, and the fact that we were able to see him one last time, and the fact that my mother-in-law's siblings were able to make it. Different towns, so they had to get like special permission to travel, because they had restrictions on traveling between cities even within the same state.
Oh, wow.
So it was that much of a lockdown there. But one of the things that I will never forget is my father-in-law was an ophthalmologist, and a professor as well. So he was both before he retired, he was both teaching and practicing. And one of his students lives here in Charlotte. And I think they have some kind of their little group of, his students. And they sent to my husband, just thoughts from some of his students, and I have never seen my husband break down, and he just that just shook him. And I remember, he was like, his comment at that time, which will always stay with me, is like, I will never be even half the man that my father was. And my father-in-law was a gentleman. I mean, I have utmost respect for him. It was hard.
Yeah. I can imagine. And it sounds like you guys weren't able to travel there because of the
we weren't able to travel. And because my mother-in-law was by herself, and she's never been by herself. Ever. And there was nothing that we could do, so they just 2 days, 3 days in, they shut the house that they lived in, and she moved. They just packed a few things, gave away some of the stuff, that perishables that were in the kitchen and stuff like that, and then she moved with her siblings to their town, and she was there for a few months. It was hard. I mean, they're siblings, yes, and really very affectionate, but it's still not the same. Like, you're leading a certain kind of life, and then in like 2 to 3 days, that entirely changes. I cannot fathom that. I mean, it's just, she's one of the strongest women I've ever known. She's an optimist. Her spirit is such an inspiration. She's just, I mean, she's just great. Is the only way to describe it. I mean, anyone else in that kind of situation, I don't know how broke they would have been, but she was such a trooper. And then a few months later, we were able to bring her here. So she lives here with us. We were able to get her a green card, and she lives with us, but she never went back to that house until 24, maybe 23. Maybe she went in 22. But it was a good 2 years after she left that she went back. It's just it's just
that's crazy. And how has your transition been here to your family? And
I would say it's fine. I think the kids love having grandma with them, and she spends time with us and then with my sister-in-law. So she splits her time.
Okay.
But like I said, I mean, she's the kind of person that's made the best out of makes lemonade out of lemons, I guess. But she's made the best out of it.
Yeah.
She keeps herself really busy, like she does. Her love for learning is just it's crazy is the way I would describe it. There's not a moment where she's not in some class or the other learning scriptures and learning music, and
that's awesome.
It is one of the things that I hope the kids are able to like see and learn from, because at her age to be able to like constantly in pursuit of learning, it's just
that's amazing. You don't see that.
It's very rare. No, it's very rare.
That's really beautiful.
It's incredible.
I bet your kids are just so happy to have time with grandma,
despite
absolutely. The circumstances.
Yeah. Oh yes.
But yeah, but that must have shaped a lot of your early beginning experience.
It did, and I must say, so one of the I would say one of the, I guess, silver linings of all this, because we were doing these rituals, my sister-in-law and her family, they would come down, and because it was the pandemic, they were able to, and so in our culture, we have to do something like almost every month for the first year.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And so the silver lining, I guess, in a sense, was as a family, not just us four as a family, but including my sister-in-law and her family. And the cousins are very close. Like our families are really, really close. And so we were able to spend a lot of time together. So we were able to be there for each other. And so we've always been close, but that shared sense of loss really bonded us. And my niece during the pandemic years was a rising senior at that time. She's now a rising senior in college. She was a rising high school senior at that time. And so we got to spend time, like work with her on her essay. And it was just, some of those memories I would not trade.
Yes.
Despite the circumstances that brought those memories, with it, and we took the opportunity to go up to Baltimore and spend like a few weeks together, things that we probably wouldn't have done otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's 2020.
Yeah. So it seemed like a lot of family impact.
Mm-hmm.
And how about work? You mentioned that you work at Bank of America. How did that look like for you?
Work was actually interesting because early 2020, I'd wrapped up a big project and I was getting ready to move to a new role. And then even before the pandemic, there were some organizational changes, and they asked me to stay on and take on a new team. I was like, oh, sure, I can do that. And I started this role that was focused on the consumer. And so as we got into the pandemic, you can imagine I was looking at consumer impacts of like, credit cards and mortgages and all of the consumer, what's the word I'm looking for? Borrowings.
Okay.
What's consumer behavior, versus how that was influenced by the government intervention, the handouts that the government did to help people. So it was it was busy, which was good in a way, given everything else that was happening in my personal life. But it was my manager and I used to have be on calls at like, I don't know, 11 midnight. But I found that very rewarding.
Yeah.
I enjoy being crazy busy. And so from that perspective, I mean, work was very satisfying.
Okay. That's awesome.
I'm sure it was frustrating at times. I'm sure I complained about it, but it was very satisfying.
Anything.
Oh, like, absolutely. But if I look back, it was a great learning experience.
And you briefly mentioned about, with your father-in-law's passing, your community and the rituals that you would do in your culture. What did that look like in terms of connecting to your community here? Do you have a large community?
We do, and honestly, I'm ever so thankful for that community that we have. Whether it was trying to help us find a priest to be able to do the rituals, or even something as simple as making sure that the kids were fed on the day of the rituals, because we can't eat anything until the rituals are complete, but we wanted to make sure, and a lot of days it would take like 2-3 p.m. and we don't want the kids to wait that long. So someone would there are rituals that happen for the first 13 days,
okay,
and then almost once a month after. And so, I mean, it was just incredible support of the community. And I know we were all in lockdown and masks and all that, but we still had, I mean, the 13th day is generally a celebration of the person's life. And so we recite a lot of scriptures, and it's almost like a wedding, where, I mean, not in the sense of like it's a celebration. Yes. And so we had, despite it is. Yeah. Most of the other things leading up to that are very much just the family. Okay. So even the food that's prepared cannot be eaten by anybody outside the family. Yeah. Whereas the rituals on the 13th day, you call people that knew the person that has passed, and you serve them a feast. And I mean, obviously, being here and being in a bubble, we called a few of our closest friends, but there were people, and there are. Like if we were in India or circumstances were different, there would be like my parents would have to do something on their side, like give us clothes and stuff like that. So there's things that they have to do. Our friends stepped in for every one of those things. Wow. It was just, that's amazing. That sense of community. I will forever be grateful to our little community.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Before you and I started chatting, we did an activity together called a hand map. Mm-hmm. Is there anything from your hand map that you're wanting to share with us?
I think you asked me to write a couple of things that I guess on the set that were positive that came out of it. Is that
2 or 3 things that you gained?
Right. And so one of the things I wrote down was perspective. Yeah. And I think what we went through, and more importantly, I would say seeing how my mother-in-law processed these things. And like I said, she came over here, her entire life has been uprooted. Yeah. And how gracious she was and accepting of it. is, I think that just gave me a lot of perspective about it's that, and it's the way my father-in-law passed. I mean, it's just such a fickle. It's an accident that we still don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just mind-boggling. It's so I think to me at least, it gave me a little bit of perspective of how fickle life can be.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. That's very true. Very true. Well, before we finish our time together, Preethi, I want to follow up with one last question.
Sorry, can I talk a little bit about 21, because that was
yes, of course.
I don't know if we have time.
Yeah.
Because 2021, and that was more directly COVID related.
Okay.
Because we lost my dad.
Oh, you lost your father as well.
Yes, I lost my father in 21. And that was very much. So in May of 2021, my parents were supposed to come here.
Okay.
And they've been here a few times. Every time my dad came here, he was still working, and he did not enjoy staying here for too long. He's like, oh, I've got work. This time he's very excited about coming here. It's like, I'm going to spend time with my granddaughter. I'm going to do this, that. I'm going to retire. I'm done with this. He's getting tired of the work that he was doing. And so he was ready to retire. So May, they were supposed to come here. A week before they came, everything shut down.
In India or here?
Here.
Here, okay.
Flights were no longer allowed.
Yeah.
So they had to cancel. They had to cancel their plans. And then September, and so we kept trying to figure out how to get them here. And September, there was, I guess, loosening of restrictions from some countries.
Okay.
So they were supposed to go to. They were supposed to go to Dubai, quarantine there for 2 weeks, and then come here, because the U.S. was allowing flights from the Emirates, but they were not allowing flights from India yet. So you could go quarantine in Dubai for 2 weeks and then fly over. But you still had to take a COVID test. My parents were perfectly fine. They went to take a test. Both of them tested positive.
Wow.
This was literally the day before they had to get on a flight in India.
They're still in India. Okay.
They're still in India. They were going to go stay with a relative that was living in Dubai and then fly from there. And the day before they left, they both tested positive. My mom might have been coughing a little bit. My dad was totally fine. They went and got their lungs checked and all that, and they said it's a very mild case. You seem totally fine. Mm-hmm. So they just said you can go back home, just quarantine yourself.
Yeah.
And then my dad started developing these hiccups. And I've since looked to see if this was some kind of symptom that we missed, and I have not been able to find literature on it at all. But he started.
I've never heard of that either.
It was a couple of days in, and he started developing hiccups, and I was still talking to him. He was still fine, and I had started going into work at that time. And then I think it was like maybe 4 or 5, 6 days in. I was at work. My mom called and said that Dad had started that night. And I talked to him that morning, driving into work, and and that's usually my time. That's always been for the last however many years that I've been here, like driving into work. Probably every other day has been my time to talk to my parents, and almost always around that time, my mom takes private tuitions, and so she always has kids in the house, and so she will never have time to talk to me unless I get her over the weekend. And so she'll talk to me for 5 minutes and say, I'm handing over the phone to dad. And so it's always been like my dad and I, are chatting. So I talked to him in the morning, and he wasn't having much of an appetite. And so I was mad at him because I was like, you need to try to eat something. Like you can't like have nuts, or I still remember I told him, I send you like, I've bought you like almonds from the US. Like, what are you doing putting them? Like, why are you not eating them? Or something stupid like that. You know, I was upset with him because he wasn't making an attempt to eat. And then that I was at work and my mom called and said Dad complained of chest pain, and they've taken him to the hospital. And it's crazy because he put on a shirt by himself. It was not an ambulance. It was just they got in a car. They called somebody in the apartment that they live in to drive them to the hospital. And he was apparently talking on his way there. I mean, he commented something about the fact that, you know, the weather's so nice, the breeze is nice, or something like that. So he was like lucid, and you know, he put on his own shirt and got in the car and all that. And it was the middle of the night for them. And then because my mom had tested positive as well, they had to admit her. They admitted him, but they had to admit her as well. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we're going on. Okay. And my cousin, who were very close, she was there to help. She was there to help them out. And so I talked to her. All this happened within a few hours. I mean, it was probably around like something like 3 p.m. our time, or 4 p.m. that my mom called, and then I talked to the doctor, and he said you should start thinking about coming to India. And we started looking at that, and I did not. So I'd gotten, maybe it was 2 years before that or something like that. I'd gotten my U.S. citizenship. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't have, so I needed a visa to go to India. Wow. Because I was no longer I couldn't use my Indian passport. And I didn't have a visa. Yeah. So my husband was trying to figure out how to get us there. And then I talked to the doctor, and he said he'd passed. My mom didn't know because my mom was also admitted. Oh, she was. Well, because she wasn't, because she'd also tested positive. Yeah. They admitted her as well. Okay. And it was so quick. Yeah, it was just hours. It was just hours. I mean, and he was talking. And then we had to figure out how I needed to get like a COVID test, because I needed that before I went, and then they wanted me to be on the video when they told my mom, and they didn't want her. They didn't tell her until she woke up the next morning. Which was like really late at night for us. And so, and my mom and dad are just a year apart. Okay. And so they were practically like, you know, like twins or siblings, like constantly fighting, and well, constantly in a sibling kind of way, like not, it was their relationship is it was lovely to. I mean, they would constantly complain about each other. Very much like siblings were so close. They were so close in age that they would fight about petty things.
Yeah.
And so so I was on the video call and I got to see my dad. It was just that it looked like he was just lying there sleeping, and then I couldn't emote because I had to make sure that I was there for mom, especially because I was here, she was there, and so I was online. My brother who lives here in Salt Lake City, so we were both here. Neither of us were there, and so we told her, and I it's not a scene, and it's hard for me to describe it, but it's not something that I'll forget. And then the next day, that night, my husband and I we drove to DC to get a visa.
Okay.
And it's people. It is literally divine intervention that I was able to get a visa that day, because you had to get an appointment. I got an appointment for some other service. I don't even know what it was. And it was a mistake. And we ended up in the wrong place, in the sense that the service for which I had, the consular service for which I had gotten an appointment for was not a visa. And I didn't realize that because we couldn't figure out how to get an appointment for an emergency visa. But the place that we ended up by accident was the place where they were issuing those emergency visas.
Wow.
I have no idea to this day how that happened. I can only say, I mean, it sounds like I'm making it up, but swear to God, I'm not. Yeah. It is just divine intervention that we were able to. I was able to do this, and then I flew there. I mean, so many things that just I can call it nothing but a miracle, because for people that passed due to COVID, they were not holding on to the bodies in India. Yeah. But somehow my cousin was able to convince them to wait for 4 or 5 days until, or 3-4 days until my brother and I got there. Yeah. And so we got to go, and we couldn't go back. We couldn't go to our house back there because, because the house was they had both tested positive, and some of the rules there where you can't go back in until the house has been they had to do some kind of treatment and all that before we went in. So my brother and I went there. My mom was still they wouldn't the hospital wouldn't let my mom go home because she was still positive. So we stayed in a hotel close to the hospital when we went there. We did my mom wasn't even there for the cremation because she was in the hospital. Yeah. I couldn't even see her. I couldn't even go give her a hug. And she was by herself. Yeah. Even after we had landed in India, she was by herself. And my brother and I were in this little hotel room, and it was, we're very close, but we had not spent time in such proximity in a very long time. And, you're just in this small area, and everybody's emotional and trying to figure out, and tempers are rising, and we did the cremation from there, and then we went through the the whole process. And then a few days later, my mom was able to come home, finished everything, but I still couldn't get her back here. And I was not going to leave her there by herself. And so I was there this happened and close to end of September, and I was there until early November. I'm thankful that, my team at that time, my manager at that time was very understanding and let me work from there. And then she came back here with me. But it's hard. It's very, so, we lost we lost my father-in-law and my dad, consecutive years, and the two moms couldn't be very different. My mom's still a very strong person. She's still, she's incredibly strong, but she's also very emotional. And so that emotion sort of, comes out as anger sometimes, both at her situation and the fact that, when she came over here, she was in 21, it was not great, because I was very emotional. I'd been very close to Dad, and I still don't know how to deal with this. To this day, if she starts talking about Dad, I avoid the conversation. I know it's not healthy. I can't have that conversation. Yeah. My brother, who's like 5.5 years younger than me, I tell him he's a much better person than I am, because he will sit down and talk to her, and I just avoid the conversation. I mean, but she came here. She didn't like it. Couldn't deal with it, so she went back, and then
she's back in India.
She is back in India, but and then after the first year after my dad passed, we brought her back, and then she did. We did her green card so that she can come and go whenever she wants. But Sarah, I'll tell you, I still feel this was 2021. Yeah. We're coming up on 3 years, I guess now. Yeah. I still feel like I haven't fully grieved. Like, the smallest of things set me off. This is what I was saying when I came in. Like, I was driving in, and I guess I got my tears out driving in. Otherwise, I would have been more of a mess. But
things trigger you. They trigger you at the most unexpected moments.
Yes, and I know you said that.
We both lost our fathers to COVID. So
it's, and I am thankful for so many things, and I do realize that I maintained my health. My husband did. I mean, we both got COVID, but we recovered pretty quickly. So I'm thankful for so many things. And sometimes when I feel bad, I feel guilty. I feel like, I should be more thankful, but it's hard.
Yeah. It is hard, and it takes time. And everyone's grieving process looks different.
It does.
So there's no comparison between you and your brother, and he's not better.
No, he got
different.
He has. I was telling him he's a better person only because he's able to sit and talk to Mom, and he doesn't. He's also very emotional, and so when he got out a little bit of his emotions there when we first went there. Yeah. As the older sister, I felt like I could not do that.
Yeah. To be strong.
I had to be strong, and it's very interesting because and I'm going to veer off a little bit into the philosophical here or something like that. But, it's we keep saying you got to be strong for this person, that person. And that's such a curse.
Yeah.
because you just don't. It just
because
weighs
you
you
have
down.
emotions doesn't mean you're not strong.
It doesn't. Yeah, and it doesn't. It stops you from your proper
grieving.
Yeah.
Your process. Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. I struggled honestly with like good things that came out of it, because these last few years have been. I've had a very blessed life. Up until 2020, neither my husband and I knew what any kind of trauma, any. I mean, we were lucky, and we still are in a lot of ways. In pretty much every way you can think of, we're very lucky.
Yeah.
But we didn't have traditional, the in-laws don't get along, none of that, and two healthy, happy kids. Like we had a genuinely blessed life.
Yeah.
And we still do, but
when you lose someone, especially two very important people to your life, back to back, it takes a toll.
It does, yeah. It does, and it's I don't know. It's hard.
It is, and you're so brave to share your story.
And it's more cathartic than I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. To be able to share it. I don't think I've fully lived those 2 years to this extent. Because, most people that were around were there, and so know pieces and parts of it. So I've not had the necessity to relay these 2 years in their entirety to someone before. And that's really part of why I wanted to do this. One for posterity to some extent, but also, I think to some extent I'm grateful that I came to this country, and I'm grateful for everything this country's, done for me. I went to school here, I work here, but at the same time, some of the things that, and I apologize for getting a little bit political here, but, things like immigration and I granted it was in the middle of the pandemic, but some of those things, and I'm not saying we should be a world without borders. It would be great. That would be lovely. But, I can't help but wonder if my parents had come here that May when they were supposed to. It was a week. Sarah, it was a week.
Yeah.
Their timing was off by a week. Yeah. Would our lives have been any different had they been able to come here? Would my dad have been able to spend more time like he wanted to with his grandkids, with his granddaughter? Yeah. And I fear that she's young. She's got very few memories of him.
Yeah.
And so I fear that as she gets older, she will lose those memories. Of all the things, I spent a lot of time with my dad, and this is his birthday month. Mm-hmm. His birthday is always very close to Father's Day. And so I fear my son is older, and so he spent time with both grandparents. My daughter, I fear that she will lose memories of both granddads. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't.
Those are really tough questions and raw and real questions that we ask ourselves. And unfortunately, we don't always have the answers to those. But I can say, you know, your dad will live on through you and through talking about him and through sharing him to your daughter.
And that's I cannot bring myself to do that just yet.
Yeah.
And I'll say things here and there, and I don't know if she's you know, we don't give kids enough credit, I guess.
Oftentimes.
But when I bring him up, she'll be like, somehow she doesn't want to hear about it, not because it's more she changes the subject, and she's so perceptive.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she changes it because she doesn't want to get hurt, or she senses that I might get hurt. I don't know which one it is, but she said sometimes, can we not talk about this? Or she will very subtly change the subject. And she's only 11. I mean, she's but that's my biggest fear, is that, you know, she'll not remember my dad, or she'll not remember my father-in-law.
Yeah.
Both of them, like, absolutely doted on the grandkids. I mean, as you can imagine, it's just
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Absolutely, and I'm sorry I rambled on.
Not at all. I do want to follow up with one last question.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we finish?
You know, like I said, despite all this, I'm thankful for community. I'm thankful. I mean, I'm a very religious person, and so I'm thankful for that strong belief system, because I think without that, we as a family could not have gotten through this. And you know, and community, not just our close friends. I mean, like I said, people that I work with, people that the broader community, that, you know, that it's incredible how the goodness in people is just incredible. It's when you see so much negativity around you, as you see a lot these days, something like this just, you know, shows you how much goodness there is in people. That gives me hope, I guess.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Thank you.